Hello YouTube viewers, Namaskar. Welcome to Dr. Adesh Verma's YouTube channel, and in this particular video I'll be discussing something about measures of central tendency. So what are the measures generally and what is central tendency? We'll be discussing all these things in this video. Generally there are three measures you call as a cardinal measures of central tendency, and you know that. If you do not know, do not worry. I am here to explain each in brief yet little bit of detail. Now let us start with the definition. The tendency of data to move towards the center. That is the uh, a one-liner definition of central tendency. The tendency of data to move towards the center. Center of what? Center of the data. The internal, the nuclear part towards the nucleus of the data. The central tendency means there is a one particular scope that is known as the nucleus, and all data has tendency. When the data shows its tendency to move towards that nucleus, that in that situation we term it as a central tendency. Second, the single numerical value, and that indicates the orientation of data towards the calculated central value of distribution. Distribution here means data. Means when you have a distribution, there is a calculated value or the central value or the nuclear value of that particular data that is found in the nucleus, and there is a orientation of the whole data to tend towards that particular nucleus. This value is sometimes called as the nuclear value of the data. Why? Because nucleus is the center part of the atom. Similarly, the central tendency or the single numerical value that we calculate, you do not feel that nucleus is already established with all data. There is, but we have to calculate that. We have to find out that with three major means. What are the three major means? Okay, I'll disclose right now. That is mean, median, and mode. And they are very simplest, and they are the simplest one to calculate, and they are very easiest to understand. If you feel any difficulty, do not worry. I am there to look after that. Before that, see the all my images. Each and every image will say you something about the mean or the median or the mode. So, introductory part. The term central tendency dates from the late 1920s. In statistics, especially social research, central tendency is a kind of average. Averages are generally three types, that is mean, median, mode. Average is a number indicating the central value of a group of observations or individuals. When you have a group of data, observations or a distribution, these averages are the central value of that particular distribution. In other words, central tendency is a single value generally located towards the middle or center of a distribution where most of the data to be concentrated. If you remember the normal probability curve, if you read that, then you will find that all the data has the most concentration towards the center. Getting my point? So the central tendency is a very, very important one that is depicted by the averages of the distribution, and that averages are the central part of the data, and all the data has a tendency to move towards the central part or the single numerical value. My dear friends, the central tendency is measured by there are three major measures, that is mean, median, and mode. I told you earlier. So I think with this introductory part you could get me. And this image what shows the balancing act. The central tendencies are tends to do the balancing act. What is the balancing act? I'll be discussing the further. Again, What is the purpose of calculating these averages or the central tendency? Why we use calculate that? Why we need that? In fact, there are few arguments I'll place in favor of that sentence, because it is a shorthand description of mass of quantitative data. If you have mass of data, so to just in a one look, how we'll understand that what data, what is the simplest or the one single numerical value that can describe that data, and that is the central tendency. That description is offered by the central tendency. Then comes the average makes data meaningful and represents it. Yes, with the help of averages or that measures of central tendency, data looks meaningful and it tends to represent the whole data. It's you call it the leader of the distribution. Third argument, that central tendency describes the population from which the sample is drawn. This is a very important one. The average is or the central tendency which we calculate, that indicates and give a wide explanation of the population from which we have drawn the sample, and from that sample we collect the data. So it, in other terms, it ensures and indicates whether the sample is a representative of the population of interest or not. So it's a very important one. You must understand why we calculate the average. This is the, and the last, and the you call it the fourth argument in favor of the sentence, the statement is the to compare two or more groups in terms of typical performance. One, there is a distribution. That distribution has to say something. And when we have a two set of distribution or two sets of data, and that two data has to be compared in certain terms or certain variables, in that case, how we'll compare? What is that indicator, or what is that numerical, single numerical value? In that case, we compare. We are not going to compare each score with each score of both the distributions. In that case, we calculate the averages or the central tendency, and on the basis of these averages and central tendency, we compare both the distribution and both the data. So you can see, so important to calculate the averages. Now we have a table, and this table is nothing but hypothetical data. This table contains 4 columns. What are these columns? First one is the your class interval. The second column is the midpoint of the class intervals. And the third column is the frequency column. And the fourth one is the frequency multiplied by the product of the frequency and the midpoints. This table will be frequently using for calculating our central tendencies, that is mean, median and the mode. Generally, you know, this table is showing the grouped form of the data, when the data has been grouped in or transformed into frequencies, and midpoints are already been calculated, and I assume that you know how to calculate the midpoint of a class intervals, which I described in my previous video. Now let us move to the next slide and understand what are the measures of central tendency. You know, I had already described 2 times in this video. The central tendency is measured by 3 measures. That is mean, generally we also know it as arithmetic mean, median and the mode. Now one point here, why I have shown you these 3 blue and yellow some bars. You must understand this. What is mean, what is median and what is mode. I'll explain a little. Suppose we have a bar which has been have more weight one side. Okay, in that case, if you want to calculate the mean will be here. The median will be the 50% part of that bar, and the mode will be the highest point of that bar. So this is the major difference between the mean, median and mode. You can see here, understand that if you convert the data into a bar or a wooden stick, in that case, if your wooden sticks comes to be this shape, if you want to calculate the mean will be the average of the all of the data, and that generally likely to fall here. What the median? median will be half of the data will be divided into two parts, two equal halves. Then the mode will be the highest, the data that is occurring frequently, that will be known as the mode. I'll describe you where to use mean, where we'll use median, and where generally we use mode. We use all these three, mean, median, mode, in our daily lives, and in industries also, industrialists also use these three important measures of central tendency. Now let us move further and discuss each thing, each measure of the central tendency. That is, first we're starting with the arithmetic mean. It's the most commonly used measure of central tendency and denoted by the X bar, commonly known as X bar. Clear? It is the sum of the separate scores or measures divided by their numbers. Simplest one. You sum up all the scores and divide that sum by the how much these numbers are. For example, for ungrouped data, the formula for calculation of mean is, see, certain students or some people have some repulsive or fear or anxiety towards some formulas. See, my dear friends, formulas are nothing but they are shortcut methods so that you can calculate without uh, reinventing the wheel. You must know what is to be done. So you must understand the symbols shown in the formulas. So X bar, you know what is that? It represents the mean, simplest thing. If you feel a repulsion towards the X, because the students tends to have listened this X since 8th or 7th 8th class, because all mathematical teachers, they assume everything as X, and while assuming this process till you reach the graduating classes, we have a certain type of anxiety and fear or some repulsion towards that, or distraction, or while when you see the something as X, people start fearing or they have some distress. So there is a simplest mean to indicate or to have a general indicators or symbols. So in place of X bar you can write mean also, but writing mean and X bar, they are different. Okay, because X bars takes less space and it's easy to write. So these symbols are used frequently and you must understand that symbols. First, mean. The formula is summation X by N. What is this? There is some typical type of E. Opposite E is written here, or E type written here. Not opposite E. It's a type of different type of E. English letter of E, but it's not E. This is the Greek capital letter, and this indicates in this formula particularly the sum of what? Sum of the symbol that written in front of it. They written small x. You know what is x? X is the score or measurement. Okay. N is the number. N stands for number of scores or measurement. How many scores we have? For example, we have one ungrouped data. Remember, this is the method of calculating mean of the ungrouped data. See, we have ungrouped data such as 21, 33, 29, 31, and so on. So what will be what are the x? X is the each score, that is 31, 20, 21, 33. These are all the x. Then we put a Greek letter sigma here. That indicates the sum of all x. Means we have to sum up all these scores. That will come to be 270. Okay. What is n? N is the number of scores. You count these numbers. These are 1, 21, see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. These are 10. So n is 10. In that case, so your score summation x was 270, and if you divide 270 by 10, your mean will be, or x bar will be 27. How much easy it is? Getting my point? So it's easiest. You know what I mean to say? That is, you add up all the scores and divide by the how much scores they are. So that will be answer will be your arithmetic mean. Remember, this is for the ungrouped data. Now, once we have group data, as I have shown you in the table, then mean will be little bit different. We'll have one more symbol added between the summation x, that is f. F means frequency. I told you that I have calculated in the four column table. I have shown you what are that. The first one was the class interval. Second one, you know, the midpoints. third one I can shown you the frequencies, and the fourth one I shown you the fx. If you want to see the table once again, do not worry, I'll let you know, I'll show you. So this is the table. See, this is the table. You can just calculate from this. You can see the table, 4 columns, and what is fx? So this is the fx table, fourth column. Fx, you know, f means the frequencies, class intervals, then the midpoints. The fx is the product of the frequency and the midpoint. So 57 is 57 into 1, 57. 52 into 1, 52. 47 multiplied by 3, 141, and so on. So our, in that case, we have to add up our frequency also. Then summation x, summation f, n is equal to, or n is 50, and summation fx is equal to 1480. We have to add the sum of product of the frequency and midpoint 2 and frequencies. Frequencies will show you the number of scores. The sum of the frequencies will show you the number of scores, where f and x will be help you in calculating the mean. So remember and memorize this table for this particular video only, because we'll be using this table in this video more frequently, because we are going to calculate that from this table only. You have calculated the arithmetic mean for the ungrouped data. Now we are calculating the mean for the group data when the data is given in the class interval forms. Remember this point. So our formula has little bit small change. We had added only one more symbol here, that is f. So our formula is summation fx divided by n. Again, x means, x bar means is a mean. Summation, that Greek letter indicates the sum of f is the frequency, x is the midpoint of class interval. Remember, in the ungrouped data case, x was the scores, whereas in the group data case, this x is the midpoint of class intervals, and fx is the product of frequency and the midpoint. Then n is the number of scores or measurements or sum of frequencies. So as per table 1, summation fx is 1480, n is 50. So simplest method is the dividing the 1480 by 50. So it is 29.6. So this will be the mean, arithmetic mean of the group data. This is simplest method. Okay, and the very easiest to understand. Note, you have to have one caution note here. Mean is a point on the distribution, not a score. Remember, see, there you, if you want to calculate, if you want to see that 29.6, that's particular score in the distribution, you won't find it anywhere, as I told you earlier, because mean is a point, particular location, it is a nucleus of the data, but it does not indicate any score there. It is a representative of the central tendency of a group data, but itself is not a score. Remember that it is the gist or the central value of all the scores. It's an indicator. Getting my point? So we'll be moving to the next. We have other types of means also. We'll going to, if you are going to study the statistics deeply, we'll have other type of means, that is weighted mean. Then comes the harmonic mean. Then comes the geometric mean. Then the arithmetic geometric mean. Then the root mean, square mean, and finally will we have a Heronian mean. All the different formulas, a different purpose they serve, but they are all central tendencies types, and you can understand. If you are more interested in that, you can refer various other videos or material available on the internet, or you can ask your teachers, because I am not going to define all these in this video, otherwise this will be very long video. So remember, other than the arithmetic mean, we have at least 6 more other types of means. Various formulas you want to see, it is given right side of these figures here itself. So we'll be moving to the next measure of central tendency, that is the median. The simplest one. It is more simpler than the mean too. The median is defined as that point on the scale of measurement above which, again remember, median is also a point on the distribution or a scale of measurement, above which are exactly half of the cases and below which are half of the cases. Means it's a central point In other words, median is middlemost point in a distribution. It divides the distribution or the set of scores or the data in two parts as a white strip divides a whole highway into two parts. When you know highway, national highway, you are going to national highway, you find there is a dotted line, there is a white strip dotted line. That white strip divides that highway into two parts. Similar is the role of the median. So sorry, median divides data into two parts. Okay, so again we'll have two types of data, ungrouped data and the group data. Okay, so in the we have a ungrouped data, in that case there are few steps we have to follow to calculate the median. Very simple step. First one, arrange the scores all the distribution in ascending order. Ascending means smallest score first, then the higher, then the higher, then the later higher, and the last one is the highest score. This is the ascending order. You arrange your scores in the ascending order. Then step 2, they count the total scores. Whether, now again there are two conditions. If the scores are in odd number, then the middle score is the median. For example, it is 18, 20, 21, 23, 27, 29, 31, 32 and 33. These are, we have 9 scores. In that case, are the middle score, that is 27, will be median. How simple it is? 100% you will agree with me, because it's very simple to calculate. If the scores are in odd number, the middle number, after arranging the scores in ascending order, the middle number indicates your median. Remember, it was for the ungrouped data and when the scores are in the odd number. If the scores are in the even number, then you have to follow one more step. Then there is a rule for that, that is your n plus 1 divided by 2 the score. That is, total n means total number of scores. For example, we have in this table 3 plus 3 6 plus 3 9 plus 1 10. Then the scores are total 10. That is even number. In that case, there will be no middle value. Then how you calculate the median? There is a formula for that. You n plus 1 divided by the 2. So n is 10 plus 1 11 divided by 2. It will be the dividend will be 5.5. Remember here, it is not the median. It is the point at which your score will be found, and that score will represent the median of the distribution. Remember, 5.5 is not the median. Various students commit this mistake. They write that 5.5 is the median. No, my dear friends, that is on the distribution. Calculate, find out the score that falls on the 5.5 fifth position. So the median is in the R distribution. You calculate first the fifth value. The fifth value is the 27 and the sixth value is the 29. So somewhere that 5.5th value will fall between the 27 and 29. So that answer will be 28. Means 27 plus 29 divided by the 2. That will be your 5.5th value. That will be, again, your median will be 28. Now again I am reminding you, my dear friend, 28 is the point on the distribution. It is not a score, and this indicates the median. Getting my point? So this was the calculation of median of the ungrouped data when the data is in the odd or data is even. So that you understand my point. So one more, next we'll be discussing the calculation of median of group data. When we have data in the group form, I have just imported that table here and shown you that from that table there is only one column is missing, that is midpoints. While calculating the median, we do not need the midpoint. It's a little bit of lengthy process, but it's a very important one. You have to learn how to calculate the median of the group data. My dear friends, if you remember, if you learned the calculation of the median of the group data, certainly one more statistical technique, that is quartile deviation, you will also learn that. Because quartile deviation also depends upon the base of the quartile deviation is the median. So in this also we'll follow some certain steps, certain algorithm to calculate the median of the group data. Step 1, find the n by 2. First step, when calculate the median of the group data, calculate the n by 2. N you know 50 frequency. So 50 by 2 will be 25. Okay. And in this table, you know, there is one more column I added, CF, that is cumulative frequency. You know cumulative frequency, if you, that is the subsequent score of the class intervals. That is that class interval 10 to 14, first class interval, the frequency is 2. The cumulative frequency will be the 2 also only. But when it comes to the second class interval, the frequency is 8, but the cumulative frequency will be 10, because 8 plus 2 is equal to 10. The same is with the third class interval. The cumulative frequency will be 10 plus 6, that will be 16. Then 16 plus 12, 28. 28 plus 7, 35. 35 plus 6, 41. This way we'll calculate the cumulative frequency. We have to calculate this cumulative frequency to calculate the median of a group data. Now step 2. Now start at the lowest score. This is your lowest score. Okay. Lowest score end of a class interval, column, and count of the scores in order up to the exact lower limit of the interval which contains the median. Now your n by 2 is 25. We start counting from here or seeing from here or adding that. So 25 is lesser than this and greater than this. Certainly your median falls somewhere between this class interval and this class interval. Now we have to calculate that, or just check the cumulative frequency of class interval previous to the class interval in which the median falls. Their frequency or CF is equal to 16. So in our case, our class interval falls in the this you call it as the median falls in this class interval 25 to 29. Okay. Now third step, step 3, compute the number of scores necessary to fill out the n by 2. That is, compute n by 2 minus f, or the divide the quantity by the frequency on the interval which contains the median and multiply the result by the size of the class interval. So this is a very important point to understand, because we assume that all the data, all the frequency are evenly distributed in the particular class interval. We know 25 falls in this. In that case, what you do is n by 2 minus f. N by 2 was 25 minus the cumulative frequency was 16, that is 9. So 9 by 12 into 5, answer will be 3.75. So add the amount obtained by the calculation step number 3 to the exact lower limit of the class interval which contains the median. So exact lower limit that contains the median is the 25 to 29. So that exact lower limit will be 25.5. That is 25.5 plus 3.75 will be 29.25. So this will be the median of your group data. Now you are very much confused maybe in the step 3. I'll be explaining with the formula. Remember, median is a point on the distribution, not a score. So let us come with a formula. The formula to calculate the median of group data is, median is key L plus bracket n by 2 minus CF divided by FM multiplied by the I. We are going to calculate the same thing here. So where L is the exact lower limit of the class interval in which the median lies. Median lies in the class interval 25 to 29. So the exact lower limit will be 25.5. I told you. N is the number of scores. N means 50. CF is the cumulative frequency of the previous class interval to the class interval in which the median falls. Means the median falls in the class interval 25 to 29. And you have to take the cumulative frequency of that previous class interval, and that is the 16. I told you, you can refer the table once again. Then FM is the frequency within the interval upon which the median falls. The median falls in the 25 to 29 class interval. In that case, your frequency is, that is let us see what is the frequency of that in our table, that is the 12. So see, this is the class intervals in our median false. So we'll take the cumulative frequency 16 and Fm will be taking as the frequency of the class interval. The median false will be 12. Remember that. And exact lower limit will be the 25.5, n will be the 50, and size of the class interval is the difference between the class interval, that will be the 5. So we have all the values. Now if we replace or substitute the all the values in this formula, then L is equal to 25.5, you know, n by 2 is equal to 25, F or CF is equal to 16, Fm will be 12, and I is equal to 5. If you substitute all the values here, you see, you have to remember L, exact lower limit of the class interval in which the median falls, n is the total sum of frequencies, Cm is the cumulative frequency previous to the class interval in which the median falls, Fm is the frequency of the class interval in which the median falls, and I is the size of the class interval. You have to remember these things. If you couldn't remember that, then refer the previous slide so that you can able to know calculate the median of the group data. If you substitute all the values in the formula, then our answer comes to be 29.25. That is the value of the median of the group data which we have taken, that is hypothetical data. I think it is clear to you. If you have any doubt, you can write in my comment box or you can email me at vermasujit@yahoo.com. The third and the last measure of central tendency is the mode. It's the most simplest one. You will say that, sir, you are telling to each measure of central tendency that is the simplest one. It's the most simplest one. I'll let you know, because the measure, what is the mode? The measure of central tendency which is most frequent occurring value of a distribution. If you have a group data set, and in that particular data set, if you find indicate or just select a score, that score is occurring frequently, time and again. That suppose there is score, there is a okay, I'll with an example I'll explain that. The mode is the only measure of central tendency available for nominal level variables. If we have some variables and that the data is to be only be calculated in the nominal level, that case when you measure the central tendency, you cannot calculate mean or median, you have to calculate only the mode. Okay, in an ungrouped data, the single score which occurs most frequently is the mode. I'll let you know. So what is the nominal level variables? The variables where we give numbers, that is name. You must be wondering, why I shown you this small image or this GIF image type, or only indicating the shoes. You can just see once again here, sandals and shoes, because mode is most frequently used by the shoe industry. That's why I shown you this small GIF image. Okay, so I'll tell you why we use in the footwear industry. Let us move to the next slide. Next slide will be our this one. So will be if you calculate the mode of the ungrouped data. In that case, the simplest one. For example, there is a distribution 11, 23, 25, 25, 30, 32, 36, 36, 36, 45, 48, 41. Now you see the most frequently occurring score is the 36, because 36 is coming 3 times in this particular distribution. So the 36 will be the mode. Example, getting my point. So easy to calculate. You just arrange all your data in a ascending order in that case, and just check which score occurring more frequently, and that score will be the mode. Okay, now if you want to calculate the mode for the group data, it is usually taken to the midpoint of the interval which contains the largest frequency of the class interval of, getting my point? So just you have to glance at the frequency column. So this is the frequency column. In this frequency column, you will see which is the highest frequency, that is the 12. 12 is the highest frequency. Okay, and then this, which is the corresponding class interval of this highest frequency, this is 25 to 29. And you know what is the midpoint of that? You know how to calculate midpoint. So this midpoint 27 will be the mode of this hypothetical table or the data or the group data. This is crude one, almost a rough estimate. Now there's a formula also for the mode. If you know how to calculate the median, if you know how to calculate the mean, then it's the simplest one. 3 median minus 2 mean will be the mode. This will be the exact mode of the hypothetical data or the group data or actual data, whatever the case may be. So dear friends, these were the three major central tendency, mean, median, mode. Now one point you must be remembering, that why we use the mode in the footwear industry. Mode is the most frequently used in the industry where human items are that items for human consumption are manufactured. Let it be clothes, let it be your head caps, your ties, then your shoes, your socks, your ready-made garments, anything. Mode is the most frequently used measure of central tendency because the data is in the nominal scale. Suppose if some footwear industry wants to calculate and wants to know which shoe is more the size, which shoe size is more occurring, in that case, that in the male case the most size occurring is the 7 or the 8, whereas in the ladies case or the female case most size is the 5, 4 or 5. So the footwear manufacturer will manufacture the most sizes will be the 7 or 8 as the case may be, or male or female. So in that case your mean will be not the helpful nor the median, all the helpful will be mode, because if you have to manufacture all the size of the same number, that case certainly that manufacturer will going to lose. So this is the case where we use the mode. Same is case with the garments or with the type of caps. Everywhere when the data is nominal scale, that time we use the calculate the mode. So dear my dear friends, these are my references. You can cross check them and you can study and you can put more efforts to understand this mean, median, mode in the most basic form. That is, the books are two important books, that is Guilford book and the Garrett book. So I hope you could get my point, you could get me, you could understand the measure to central tendency, and I hope that you are now perfect in calculating the mean, median and mode of both the type, that is grouped or the ungrouped data. So if you have any doubt, you can always write my comment box or email me. But if you like this video, share with your friends, like it and subscribe my channel. And if you have something to say, that kindly write to me directly, or you can email me at vermasud@yahoo.com. My dear friends, thank you.